it's so hard, right? International is a slog. I mean, we've been at it for 40 years. We have, oh gosh, hundreds, 300 or 400 people internationally, maybe even 500. I lose track.
Right.
I remember at one point our international team was bigger than the domestic, and we've only made money for 2 months on international in history, both Decembers. Now I have this idea that if I have 100 brands, I might be able to scale it. I think I believe I can,
right,
to a point where I can still take a thin margin and make money a little bit. And I'm not there yet, but I think I can. But if you're like a brand and you run one brand, and somebody's like, hey, Canada, okay, Canada maybe. Now South America,
right,
China,
yeah,
the Middle East, Southeast Asia, Europe, and all the complexities around. No way.
Yeah.
I don't believe the big brands can pull it off. I think you will have to work with some of these aggregate, maybe like the giant brands, like, Nestle's and so forth could pull it off. But like, almost most brands that are in the realm of normal, they're going to have to partner with somebody who has more scale. Now, the thing that's unfair though is oftentimes, unless a company is really not financial engineering, they just take advantage of these brands because they're like, I'm gaining scale, so I'm still going to charge you 40%.
Right.
Right. That's the problem. Like I had a company come in here that we were looking at acquiring. They're out of China. And she was like, Dave, let me tell you the big difference between you and me. And I was like, what's that? And she's like, I make money. And she was like in my face a bit about this. And and so I got a little chippy, maybe I shouldn't have, right? But yeah, I'm like, you realize, yes. And she's like, I make 24%. And I'm like, and I make 3.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and does it scare you that I can go to your website and look at your entire customer list? And she's like, yeah, maybe a little. And I'm like, it should.
Yeah.
Because everyone, there's a lot of companies just taking advantage of these brands. And that won't work either. You're not going to get scale. Brands are just going to do it on their own, right? Like, But you get to a certain point and like trying to tackle the Middle East, and Venezuela, brands don't have the time. You also don't make that much revenue.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You're just like, hey, let's get a foothold there. Maybe 10 years from now, this will turn into something, so the international piece is massive. And, there's a lot of things I think brands are dealing with, but I think the other thing that I think is a big shift that brands need to make is they think, I'm going to hire an e-commerce person, and they go out and try to find some expert in something, like, because they're not going to be an expert in everything. No one is.
Right.
So they pick something, and then that expert usually pulls them down that rabbit hole, like influencer marketing, whatever he's good at, he or she is good at.
Right.
The whole brand seems to go down that rabbit hole.
Right.
And then I've seen another line of thinking where they're just hiring like MBA leaders, project managers, and they're like, hey, how do I build either a team below me / a group of companies that will get me from A to Z?
Yeah.
And usually they're not good at anything to do with e-commerce.
Yeah. Yeah.
Per se. Right.
Yeah.
And I think from what I've seen so far, I think that model might be working a little better.